Pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Additions or amendments to the agenda? Roll call. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Everling Baker,
Here.
Farrell, here, Happy,
Here.
Keller,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Mayor Fallon.
Excused. All right, additions or amendments to the agenda? There are none. Item 3, adoption of the consent agenda. Approval of minutes of September 25th, 2023 council meeting and ratification of bills in the amount of $166,153.67.
I move we adopt the agenda. Approval of minutes of September 25th, 2023 council meeting, ratification of bills in the amount of $166,153.67. Second motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Councilmember Miller and seconded by Councilman Compton.
Councilmember Thompson,
Aye.
Everling Baker,
Aye.
Farrell. Aye. Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion passes. Moving on to 4, public hearings, there are none. Item A, approved resolution 1493, update of council procedures.
Okay, resolution 1493, the updated council procedures. At the September 25th, 2013 council meeting, council reviewed a draft proposal of changes to and discussed additional changes to the council procedures. At the September 25th meeting, there was consensus from council to update the agenda format by moving in appearance of interested citizens to item number 4 on the agenda and removing item number 9, other matters. There was also consensus of council on the order of discussion within each topic on the agenda. Council also agreed to keep all public comment periods of 5 minutes. There was additional discussion regarding the quorum of council and public in the meeting. Additional language was added to section 5.4 regarding the quorum of councilors, staff, and public. City Attorney Cleveland reviewed the council procedures. He did recommend one change in section 3.2 special meetings. He advised getting consent from council for a meeting would in itself constitute a meeting. Below is the old language and proposed new language. Old, special meetings of the council may be called by the mayor or by president of the council in the mayor's absence or by consent of a majority of council members by giving notice of the meeting to council members and the public at least 24 hours in advance. The new language, special meetings of the council may be called by the mayor or by the president of the council in the mayor's absence or by the city administrator after consulting with the mayor by giving notice of the meeting to council members and the public at least 24 hours in advance. Special meetings will be topic specific. City Attorney Cleveland did not see any other issues with the procedures and confirmed that a resolution is needed for adoption and all processes are being followed properly. Again, one more comment I don't have in here is if this goes into further discussion and kind of just clarifying and improving, I would recommend this goes back to a work session just so to keep the meeting moving smoothly tonight. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a motion?
I
I move to resolution 1493, updating the city of Cascade laws. Council procedures.
second.
Got a motion and a second to update and approve resolution 1493, updating council procedures. Discussion? Yes. Councilmember Miller.
Is wording from the city attorney the only wording that's changed in the whole procedure? Because this synopsis doesn't highlight exactly the old and the new from any of this. And when we usually change council procedures or any wording, it shows it. And all I see is this old and new from, on that special meetings. Was there anything else in it?
No, the majority of the changes were in the draft reviewed at the September 25th meeting. So this is the clean version. The other major changes, were the decorum added in section 5.4. But there are no, there's more of additions than any changes.
So I don't see the old and new of that on here either. So,
Is it possible? And like we got the draft of the changes, but it doesn't show the edits.
yeah,
I guess that would be, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
and, you know, I would hate to adopt a new council procedure and then find out later that something else is in there. So that's why we put in exactly what has been changed, and this does not describe all the changes. Or it showed the exact wording of what has been changed.
This has the changes, correct?
It does, yes. This has the changes discussed at the last meeting, as well as new language from the attorney and new language specific to the decorum section in 5.4 as requested by council.
So what I did is I went and I looked at each, because it did make it a little harder because it wasn't highlighted, and I went and I checked each spot. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to do that, but it looked like it matched to me.
So when you say it looked like it matched, you the
The
only,
changes that, yeah, that we talked about, and so I went to those direct spots, where it's talked about the five, well, that didn't change. We talked about changing it, but it didn't.
which one?
Council agrees to keep all public comment periods of 5 minutes. I know we talked about 3, but it was already 5. And so then if you go to, the section 5.4, you can see that. And then, you go to section 3.2, and you can see that. It was a little bit harder to dissect, but, that was my approach.
And I can definitely have those edits in any future items like this. So when we do the finance policy, the original
It helps.
with the edits, yeah, no problem.
Well, I'd kind of like to have this thing brought back with the changes so I can see it.
Denise has her, sorry, Councilor Emily Baker.
Councilman Emily Baker, would you like to speak?
Yes, similar to Tammy, I looked at our old notes, my old notes, and then looked at this, and I'm very comfortable that I see what we asked for is in this that was provided to us. So thank you. That's all I want.
Any other discussion? You ready to move to a vote? Sounds like we're ready to vote.
Councilmember Compton.
Should I restate the motion prior to,
Yes.
Okay, so we're, the motion, brought by Councilman Miller was the, no, sorry, was it that brought the motion? Councilman Farrell, and seconded by Councilman Emily Baker to approve resolution 1493, updating the council procedures.
Okay. Councilmember Compton,
I'm gonna abstain.
Emily Baker,
I,
Farrell, Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller.
No,
Motion passes 4-1. We need to state the abstention on there as well. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to 5B, Selection Committee appointment.
Miss Sarah Patrick has applied to be on the clearing committee, and the mayor has asked for the applicant. Now it takes council approval to.
We have a motion,
isn't it just consensus?
or is this a motion?
No, it's a vote.
It is a vote.
I move to appoint Sarah Patrick to the tourism committee.
A second,
I'll second it.
discussion,
I want to say that I've gotten to know Sarah well in town and seen her commitment to the community in her occupations and helping out with volunteer work. And I have appreciate her, if you've seen her also commitment to the Native American community, and both in Cascade Locks and throughout the gorge. I think that would be a nice element that we add to our tourism committee. And her application, I know, is very minimal and does not speak to the richness of the experience and background she has. She's very humble. And so she does have special skills and interests in communicating with a diverse range of people. And I've seen her doing volunteer work, as I mentioned before. So while this is a very minimal application, it is what I believe Sarah's humility. And I don't know if she's on tonight, but that's what I want to say.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I guess my biggest concern is that, Ms. Patrick was on city council for a while. And attendance was very low. And so I'm just trying to figure out the dedication to the tourism committee. So that's what's paying me up.
It's my understanding, I wasn't here, that there were some times in the past that city council was a very uncomfortable place to be. So I'm speaking on things and not from her. And it's a new world now and a new tourism committee. And we do have built into our procedures that any member of a committee that doesn't attend, I believe it's 3 meetings, shall be removed. So, so that is good that we have that in our documents as well to help. I don't even know if that's been followed in the last few years, but certainly as we're looking to make our documents match what we're doing, hopefully that will help, mitigate that concern.
Thank you. And I don't know why we don't see Councilman Emily Baker no longer on the screen up there. There we go. Cool. Okay. We couldn't see you raising your hands. Thank you.
There we go, I forgot the header.
Okay. Any other discussion? So we have a motion to appoint Sarah Patrick to the tourism committee, brought by Councilman Emily Baker and seconded by Councilman Keller. No other discussion. Let's bring it to a vote.
Councilmember Compton.
Aye.
Emily Baker. Councilmember Emily Baker.
I was on mute.
Councilmember Farrell. No. Happy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye. Motion passes. I think it was 5-1, is that right? All right. Moving on to 5C, approved resolution 1494, support of Oregon DLCB grant.
Okay, while working with staff from the University of Oregon to complete the city's strategic plan, we discussed an Oregon Department of Land, Conservation and Development Technical Assistance Grant that fits within the goals of this new plan. The deadline to submit the application was October 2nd. I completed the application process and submitted. The application materials are attached for review. The grant request is for the development of a downtown economic development project that will focus on parking, signage strategies, as well as updating our development code, integrating trails, and researching funding options for actually implementing all of these items. The request was for $45,000 with a $5,000 match from the city. The city would match these funds with from tourism, as anything focused on development of downtown is related to tourism. An additional note, I was unable to get a formal review and approval from the tourism committee because they have not been able to meet. They don't have enough members for a quorum. I did talk to support staff email members about this, and I did get support from them verbally and through email. So the ones I have talked to do support it. A final stipulation of this grant application is a resolution from city council supporting the application. The resolution was not due at the time of submission, but is needed before grants are awarded. Presented today for approval is the resolution for council's approval. Thank you.
Have a motion?
A motion to approve resolution 1494, supporting the city's technical assistance grant through the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development.
All right, we have a motion to approve resolution 1484, supporting the city's technical assistance grant through the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development, brought by Councilman Crompton and seconded by Councilman Miller. Do a vote?
Now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Discussion. Discussion.
I was just wondering, is there a time frame that we would know, if we got this, and has the 5,000 been budgeted?
It has not been budgeted specifically. I mean, at this moment, we have room in the tourism budget. Very little, not very little, but we have not traditionally spent the full budget within tourism. They've been very conservative, so there is room in there. The deadline, I don't remember what it said. I don't remember there being a specific deadline presented, but I can double check and email council. Yeah, I think it's by the end of this year.
Thank you.
Councilmember.
And
I would think, does this fall into tourism? For the budget, I mean, infrastructure for parking and that.
We get a lot of tourism parking on the weekends.
Well, I know that.
Yeah, and part of the concern is it's starting to creep up Venture and Onawata, I can never say that one. Oneonta, Wasco, all of those streets, so, I mean, there is empty spots in town, we can do, downtown we do parking, but we need a strategy of working with private, landowners, so.
And Councilman Emily Baker.
Thank you. To Councilman Miller's question, I have spoken at League of Oregon Cities about quite often about the use of TLC funds, and some have used it for parking, which is great. And this is just the 5,000, not the DLCD monies. And I want to thank City Administrator Bennett for pursuing this grant. Will be a great benefit to us, and will be just a little help to this giant, responsibility we have already, and that is shown to us from our strategic plan results. So I want to thank you for this, and personally, I'm very excited to hear after the budget process and this discussion of electrical rates possibly going up, that we have possibly some money coming to do something, because we all know after looking at our budget this year that there is no extra money. So thank you. I would certainly support this.
I will note that they prioritize, projects in these, and economic development was their top priority by far. And it's also our top priority in our strategic plan that will be reviewed next meeting. So I mean, it fit with where the city wants to go.
It does say things like, integrated trails and what was that? Signage strategies, researching more funding for our other tourism projects that we want to accomplish in economic activity. And I think it's like $5,000. It's a worthwhile amount to spend on possibly $45,000.
A lot of our wayfinding signs are old and faded and list businesses that have been out of business for a decade. With this bike trail the state is pushing, it runs right through town, down Forest Lane. And we all know it's not safe. So again, how we can efficiently incorporate those into downtown.
Yes. How is the signage gonna work? I mean, ODOT owns Wanapaw, and they got the sidewalk. So we would have to go through them for anything that we want on the sidewalk. for
Correct, it
signage.
would probably be in partnership with private property owners off the sidewalk, like the two signs I'm thinking of. Are in front of the Columbia Gorge Inn and in front of the market, they're wood poles, wood signs,
The
with
old
white
ice cream
seats.
shop.
Yeah, the ice cream shop that doesn't exist anymore. A lot of them would be on port property as you're coming into town off 84. I don't know about the east end, how much signage we need on the east end, down by Snyder's or the industrial park, but at least coming in front of, we can put it right in front of the fire station. So it doesn't have to be on one, or make it on the street.
On the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any other discussion? All right, now we're ready for a vote. Before we vote, just restate the motion. Motion was to approve resolution 1494 supporting the city's technical assistance grant through the Oregon Department of Land Conservation Development brought by Councilmember Compton and seconded by Councilmember Miller.
Okay. Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emmeline Baker,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Moving on to 6, appearance of interested citizens. And I didn't get any slips this evening.
We need anybody to fill that in.
Right, hold this, actually, is there anybody online who would like to make a public comment? We do have 2 people who just joined in, so let me give them a second here. Hello to Julie and whoever 0346 is, we just entered public comment. Would anybody like to provide a public comment at this time? T has provided a chat. There are so many grants for sustainable infrastructure upgrades via ODO and CREP. It's worth checking out. Thank you, Pam. I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time.
All right, so moving on to 7A. Mid-Columbia Economic Development District Executive Director Jessica Meta. Hi there.
I know you have my slides. Do you want me to share them as well, or just speak as though you're looking? I have it. Don't remember they wouldn't print out.
Oh, they printed funny. That's right. We tried to print them and they printed.
Do you?
Yes, I can present. Yeah,
Thank you.
they came all wonky and cross-eyed.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
They were stunning.
Well, now we can see them on the picture.
Yeah. Pretty much never does justice.
Good. Oh, no, that.
Oh,
not that one. Sorry.
I will say our printouts are looking better.
Yeah, they turned out really good.
Well, thank you so much to Jordan and to all of you for letting me come today. I was, since there were so many new counselors, I thought it'd be just a great opportunity to share a little update about Mid-Columbia Economic Development District, what we do in the region and how we work with the city. So I'm Jessica Meta, I'm the executive director. You can go to the next slide. So we have, there you go. We have existed since 1969 to promote the creation of family wage jobs, the diversification of the economic base and the growth, development, and retention of business and industry within our 5 counties. Next page. So we cover, I've got a couple slides I'm working on this today. So the 5 counties that we cover is Skamania and Klickitat in Washington, and then Hood River, Wasco, and Sherman counties in Oregon. The whole region is about 90,000 folks. And we are governed by a 22-member board of directors representing counties of the district. So we have a county commissioner from each of the counties. We have representative of the cities in each county, and we are very happy to have Councilor Miller just join as the representative for the cities of Hood River County. So that seat bounces back and forth between the city of Hood River and the city of Cascade lots every 2 years. So we're glad to have Councilman Miller there. We have a representative of the ports, so one for the Oregon ports and one for the Washington ports, the chambers as well, in Oregon and Washington Chamber of Rep. And then 8 private sector representatives for things like the healthcare industry and forestry and agriculture and all the different industries that you can think of, so. We operate from our offices in Dallas. I have been there myself for about 14 years and, next slide. So we group our work into kind of 3 buckets. I joke that I don't have a good elevator speech for what my head does because it's diverse. And so the best we can do are 3 buckets of business assistance, technical assistance, and regional coordination. So business assistance, next slide. Under that, we have a small business lending program that supports businesses that are not able to get a bank loan. So any kind of new business or expansion, for example, we also help refinance debt, like higher interest debt. We have, like in the, well, actually, there's some, the next slide is kind of showcase a little bit more about the lending program. We also have on the Oregon side, we have a lending fund that's focused on supporting attainable housing, so housing to support folks earning up to 120% of the area median income, which is unique, some money that we got from the governor's office. We also do business training as we have grant opportunities to support our work in that. Sometimes we've done business networking events, we call them pub talks, for example. We had one in Cascade last year or so ago. We also work specifically with some of our industry clusters or sectors to talk about how we can help them grow and be successful. Most of our work right now is in the high-tech industry, just based on where we have some grants to do some focused work. Go ahead, next slide. So on the business lending program, this is one of the ways that I say more of the general public engages with MCEDD. So these are some examples of projects that we funded. MCEDD itself has its own pot of money that it's called a revolving loan fund. As folks pay us back, we lend out more money. We've been doing this since the 80s. But we also administer loan programs for the Oregon Investment Board, which focuses, basically the only difference is the area of geographic focus for the lending. So the Oregon Investment Board covers the Oregon side of the national scenic area. And MCEDD covers the full 5 counties. We also administer another entity called Mountain Hood Economic Alliance. So we say we're a one-stop shop for a small business loan that can be creative and support your business. So these are a couple of examples. Next slide. So we've done retail, restaurants, we've done professional services, medical, basically anything I can think of, manufacturing. So since the 1980s, we've done 315 loans, about 21.3 million to create or retain 2,500 jobs. In 2023 so far, it's been about 500,000. We have a really popular microloan program, so for up to $40,000, it doesn't require full collateralization. So pledging items of work, that's been very popular. Next slide. So this is the Oregon Investment Board I mentioned is another one of the funds, Bourbon Fish Products. Other examples in Cascade Locks, we've supported Thirsty Cafe, Thunder Island, Gorgeous Brewing. So we have been active in Cascade Locks for sure. Next slide. On the technical assistance side of what we do, we also do engage quite a bit in Cascade Locks. On the grant administration labor standards, that's where you have Jackie Shy is one of our project managers that works really closely with Jordan to help administer their EDA grants and any other grants that you're working on, the wastewater project. So that's where you receive a state or federal grant that has a lot of complex labor standards or other red tape, or can just help support staff to help make sure that you're meeting all of those standards. We also staff the Hood River County Energy Council is another way that we engage with the city. So that is a few years ago, the county had an intern that worked with the community to develop an energy plan to bring the county to an energy neutral future, and then has had staffing to help continue that. And I should remember if Cascade Lock, the city is not an official partner. I should remember that.
The Hood River one? Or with-
Yeah, the Hood River County Energy Council.
No, it's not.
Okay.
The board is.
Right. Thank you, I should have reminded myself. But we do still have staff that works to help you meet energy efficiency and renewable energy development goals. Over there. Yes, next slide. On the regional coordination piece, this is kind of the backbone of what we do, where if we focus on challenges or opportunities that impact more than one community across the 5 counties, such as renewable energy development, broadband access and utilization, transportation and mobility services. On the broadband, for example, we have convened for a number of years the Board Broadband Consortium, brings together on and underserved areas of the region to talk about how we can improve our broadband availability. Next slide. We have a couple other examples of the regional coordination pieces that we do. So for more than a decade, we have convened the regional transit providers in a group called the Gorge TransLink Alliance. And through the bringing the staff together to talk about how more we can work together, that effort has materialized a number of projects to keep the communication going and the collaboration improving. So for example, Gorge Pass is an effort that came out of the TransLink Alliance, which is the multi-provider transit pass for $40. You can ride on any of the fixed routes within 4 of those counties. And then a few years ago, we received some grants from ODOT and WashDOT to develop a transit strategy, which talks about bringing the community together to say, what do we want for the future of transit? And then how will we get there? So we've just adopted phase 2 of the plan, which you see here. Phase 1 really set that vision, and then phase 2 says, how will we actually get there? What we're talking about now is potentially forming a regional transit advisory board of those decision makers that are really behind the transit systems to be better talking about how to further develop the system. Next slide. One of the other regional coordination pieces, and this is kind of a core of what MCEDD does, is developing our regional strategy, the Columbia Gorge Economic Development Strategy. So this is the hard copy. So every 5 years, we develop this full plan, bringing all of our partners together. We invite the city, the port, the chambers, all of the communities to go through a 10-month process to talk about what are our socioeconomic conditions here, where have we been, where are we going, what is our vision and our goals to get there. Like you just did for the city's strategic plan, so this is at a regional level for the Columbia economy. We have it up on the website, gorgeeconomy.org. And this piece is something that we do as part of our funding that we receive from the U.S. Economic Development Administration, the EDA, which really believes in economic planning as a way to help improve our regions, and gives us a grant to develop and then implement this, which we do match from an assessment that we do receive from the cities, the counties, and the ports. So that's just another way that you engage with us, is a small per capita assessment. Next slide. So the next few slides do focus on this. So we did just adopt it in 2022. So most of the work happened in 2021 during the pandemic. All of the sessions this time were virtual, which was disappointing because the networking that happens with them is really one of the best parts. But the vision that was established we had over 100 people participate. There were 8 sessions, several focus groups and surveys. We had a couple specific focus groups for the Latino and the Native American communities to hear better how we can support those populations in the region. And so the vision that you see here, I like to joke that we got all of the words in. The bi-state and Columbia region with a resilient, thriving, sustainable rural economy that supports equitable access to diverse business opportunities, that act in harmony with the area's unique qualities, values, cultural, and natural resources. There's a lot that we wanted to cover. But from that, we then came up with 4 goal areas. Next slide. So strong businesses, robust workforce, resilient infrastructure, and powerful regional collaboration. And each one of those has its own goal statement and then an action plan. The the next slide actually is, the goal setting for the strong businesses. So, and under infrastructure, I will say that's one of the, so you can see here businesses talks about, and you do have the business action plan in your, the next slide, but how can we help our businesses be successful? Under the robust workforce, we talk about our K-12 system, our higher education, ongoing workforce training. This was the first time in developing this 5-year plan that childcare showed up. And the need for better childcare solutions to support a workforce, a strong workforce. That was the first time. In the resilient infrastructure section, that one is actually the longest because under infrastructure, we have specific call outs for water and wastewater, for energy, for housing, for transportation, for broadband. I believe that's it. And the housing one is one that has to run for a number of iterations. So the region has been talking for a while about the need for affordable housing and how that is one of our biggest barriers to economic development. But now the conversation did also include childcare, which I know is a problem here in Cascade for sure. The next slide shows so this is what the action plan looks like for the strong businesses, and each one has that, and under the strategy, there's more activities. And we always say that this plan was developed by the region for the region. It's not just a list of things that my organization would do, for example. So there are definitely places where the cities as partners. And then that last goal, the powerful regional collaboration, just really talks about how we can work better together to achieve those other 3 goals. On the next slide. So one piece of the comprehensive economic development strategy that this says is the acronym that we use for that you do interactive every year is developing a list of top 10 priorities for our Oregon counties and for our Washington counties. And so that's where we pretty soon actually we start reaching out to all the entities and saying, you know, what are your top infrastructure projects? And from the city of Cascade Locks, for example, those projects move up to a county-wide group that comes up with a top 10 priority list for the counties, all the different projects within Hood River County. It actually goes to the County Board of Commissioners for adoption. And from there it comes to my board and we come up with a regional top 10. So you can see the ones that touch Cascade Locks are the Bridge of the Gods on number 1. And then the number 8 for the Cascade Locks Business Park Infrastructure Development. So we have some of the city projects that have been submitted and haven't made it to this level, and some of the transportation projects, City Hall. So this does come to you every year, or at least through Jordan to hear what your top priorities are for infrastructure. One of the benefits of being on this is not that we have funding, but by being on this list, it shows really strong regional support and helps you when you are applying for applications to be able to show that support. So this is what we focus on, is since we do this every year, which projects are really going to be submitting grant applications or need some kind of legislative advocacy, and this is a way to show that support. Next slide. So as the Washington on this as well. And next slide. So we do have our fun annual event coming up, the Gorge Annual Economic Symposium. The very exciting thing is this will be at the pavilion this year. So you guys could just all walk there. You would probably get wet because it'll be on November 3rd. It's 8:30 to noon. This is our annual event to bring everybody together for networking, to check in on the economic development strategy, to hear from our economists on how things are going. Our keynote this year is a renowned speaker he's a futurist and also speaks most recently on artificial intelligence and what does that mean for our communities from like a business leader perspective or just a community leader perspective. So he will be coming in, and then we'll have a panel with a diversity of business. So we'll have a Skamania Lodge, in situ, wholesale, one of the orchard bee farms, and then hopefully one of the healthcare facilities to talk about what are the challenges and opportunities that their industry is seeing. So it should be a really good event. It's MCEDD.org/symposium to get to that information and the registration. And then the last slide is just here's your call to action. Tell your friends especially about the business loan program. That's the one piece I said is easiest for the public to engage. The Gorge Pass, we're always really happy to promote the Gorge Pass as well. We do have a newsletter, a monthly newsletter, where you can just stay up to date on what we're working on. So that's if there's any questions.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
Do we have any public comments on Ms. Meadows? You can sit down. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I have.
You have a question?
Yeah. We had discussed earlier in our work session about. Our contractor said. On handling grants. Of raising it up to $100,000, currently you handle about 10,000. Is there a problem with? Between that 10 and 100,000 or is it?
I think it's, you know, it's what the city, which would work best for the city. We are looking at, you know, how can we help continue our partners and things like that, so, training more staff to be able to fill in, so it's, we lean really heavily on the one staff person. I'm not worried about the raise from 10 to 100,000. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Baker.
Did you have a question or was it for discussion for council after the presentation?
Oh, no, I wanted to thank her and ask a question. Thank you for being here. I understand that sounds like our city administrator worked with MCEDD on some of the things that you're talking about. And then we have Butch Gay, Councilman Miller is part of it, as well as is our port a part of MCEDD? Yes, so because 1 and 8 are both affiliated with that. So who else are we missing? We're such a small city and our staff is small. Can you just name the titles of people from other cities that are pursuing the things that you're doing? Like, are we missing a business manager? Or I just like to hear who are the cities that are contacting MCEDD? I mean, what is the title of the person besides the city administrator?
We work most closely with I would say the city and county administrators are the folks that we work the most closely with. Sometimes with planning departments. Most of our cities or counties don't have dedicated economic development staff. And actually, in a few of our counties, we are contracted to serve, to provide even more staff capacity to serve as that city or county. So I misspoke, just county. We serve as like the Wasco County Economic Development staff and the Sherman County. We do it actually in a small way for River County. It's called the River County Economic Development Group, where we bring together the staff level leads of the cities, the ports, the county, the chamber to talk every few months about what everybody's doing with economic development and coordinate. So that is another way that we engage. I honestly, Cascade is not the tiniest community, or I'd say mid-size for, you know, the river and the Dalles are gonna overshadow you, but within the region, I was just talking to your community engagement person. We do a lot of work in Sherman County on community engagement, where the largest town is 450 people. So you're doing great.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering if you ever had any interaction with historical buildings. Do you ever get involved with that?
So one of the things that I should have mentioned is we did just get we're still working through the contracting, but a brownfields assessment grant, which Jordan is already thinking about for the city of, to help identify opportunities for reuse, redevelopment, and it can help with some really creative planning for any kind of historical buildings that might have lead or asbestos or even, fluorescent lights.
This building is what I was referring to.
Yeah, I think we're already thinking about this building. So that would help pay for some assessments and redevelopment plans and things like that. So we are, just working through, we received $1 million from the US EPA to distribute its grants to cover the cost for those things over the 5 counties, and we'll tell Jordan as soon as the application goes.
Great, thank you.
I saw you were involved with the Mountain Market. Were you involved with the Mountain City Hall?
I have to think, so that's where we have some staff that supports with Washington County Economic Development. I think in a small way with, talking about funding and things like that, but it was a lot of their city staff. Mhm.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
any public comment?
I haven't seen any hands up. Right, yeah.
All right. Council discussion? I got no council discussion, moving on to 7B, community liaison, Bob Camillucci.
Oh, public comment forum?
What's that?
Public comment forum?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped to 7, I read 7B, but I skipped 7C, thank you. So 7B is public comment forum, sorry, we'll get right back to you, Camillucci. Thank you.
All right, public comment forum at the September 11th council work session and the September 25th council meeting updates the public forum, public comment request form we discussed. Attached is an updated draft of the public comment request form built from those comments. The major changes from the last presentation on the 25th are clarification of one form per topic at the top of the front side. Clarification of position on issues only needed for public hearings. Change to note that public comment is 5 minutes, and then addition of general decorum rules on the back of the instructions on the back of it. If approved, staff will work on developing an online version of this. Not 100% sure how that'll look, but we'll work on developing it. And this one only requires consensus, doesn't actually, not a policy, it's just a form we're using to really gather who wants to discuss.
Do you have any public comment on 7B?
Not seeing anything.
All right, oh, yes,
I do have a.
Ms. Wood, would you please step forward and state your
Yeah.
name so that we can get you on meeting minutes, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Barney Wood. I have a comment on it, as in, on the back of the instructions on it says that if you don't fill it out by 6, that it's returned in by 6 p.m. I would hate to see a community member not be able to come here and give any public comment on something, you know, we may have forgotten to fill out the form, we may have not known we were gonna be home in time for the meeting. There's many things that I think, why are we being so hard on our community members? I understand that you're trying to get order in council meetings and stuff, and you're doing a great job, Happy. And I think it can be done without changing a whole bunch of stuff and like really doing that. So I would hate, because sometimes I don't know if I'm gonna speak or not. I didn't intend on speaking tonight. You know, but if I have to have the form filled out by 6, otherwise I can't share, then I think that get you guys where you don't have to listen to a lot of people that may not know if they could attend or not attend. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this? Council discussion?
Can we just clarify? I feel like that is for written comments.
That's what I was gonna say, it's just for those that are written, that would be spread out by staff.
Just for the record, do you want to read that, just so we have that on?
Yeah, so this is on instructions on the back below the list of ways to contact city. It says speaker forms for those who will not be in attendance, and then in parentheses, in person or virtual, must be submitted with written comment by 6 p.m. the day of the council meeting and will be read by city staff.
And can you provide an example of a situation when someone might do that?
And,
We have one recent.
yes, with Janice, with the comment regarding, the, tourism position. But it could be really on anything, on, you know, garbage cans has been the hot topic lately. It could be on, what are we talking about today? If somebody really didn't like Sarah Patrick for some reason, they could write a comment or one in support. So, I mean, it really could be anything. It just has to be on a topic, or it could be, for public, interest of citizens. What do we call that thing? I can't say that. Appearance of interest of citizens, yeah.
Their items not on the.
I was not, it could be for anything.
And those are, so prepared statements that somebody would submit electronic, you know, submit to City Hall.
It
before
could be
6
a
p.m.
handwritten note, it could be an email, and I would read exactly what it says.
And they just have to be received by 6 p.m. But
6
for
p.m.
people that
That way
actually
it's-
want to speak, they just need to fill out the form.
Yes,
but it could be-
so that would give us staff an hour to get it prepared for the meeting. Yeah, yeah. Got it. And if it makes it easier, I can kind of underline or bold that not in attendance. So it sticks out more.
Yeah.
I tend to skip over those words that are very important.
And I think the idea behind this was that all of these forms would be collected, turned into Maryland. Maryland is then going to collate those and give them to the mayor, the presiding officer, so that way it's easier to move through them, so we can make sure that nobody gets missed. The idea here is to make it easier for people to participate, not limit participation, but keep the meetings on track. Any other discussion?
Did have a,
Councilor Farrar.
Sorry, I'm a proofreader. You have to still change the zip code on the bottom.
did I? Oh, thank you. I did that so many times. I would change the top and go, I gotta change the bottom half. Thank you. Because when I copy and paste, it screwed up the formatting and. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Just simple formatting, the lines wouldn't meet up, and if we cut it on the back line, it would cut out the fancy logo that we have.
That's what I was trying to do, is get those lines on each side of the map. But, okay.
Oh, yeah.
We did have a public comment in the chat, so I don't know, I just saw it, so I don't know when it came in. Go ahead. This is from TL Pruitt, so I'm assuming Tiffany Pruitt. This is still nothing, there's still nothing on the form that says the speaker has to fill out a form for each thing that they want to speak on. And there does say underneath the title, please print, and then one form per topic. So, there is something, if I'm reading her question correctly.
And the idea again is that we have this form submitted for each time somebody wants to speak, so again, we can organize them.
They could speak on every single topic, but they'd have to fill out a form for each time.
Yes, thank you. Any other discussion? Thoughts? You guys like the form?
I do. Are we voting on it or just discussing it?
It's consensus. We don't need an actual vote, otherwise it'd be an action.
Councilor Miller, I know you got some concerns about it, updating the form. How do you feel about it?
No, I'm fine with it.
You like the changes?
I like the changes. I appreciate what Ms. Wood said, and I appreciate the clarification that that's written. And I want to also clarify, in your kindness, Administrator Bennett, saying you'll read what's on the form, obviously with decorum rules and non-bullying language, or that would not be read aloud, obviously.
Yes, we would censure the comments, yes.
They're not in
Correct.
compliance with our,
Correct. I would get the general conveyance across, yeah.
sounds like there's consensus to some minor tweaks with formatting and some slight typos, but other things.
Good, I appreciate it, thank you.
Excellent. All right, now should we move on to 7C?
Yep, I just realized the formatting on the agenda is wrong, so this is 7B again. I don't know what happened here, it's but I guess
You're done. All right.
okay,
So this is really 7BB, is that right?
7C.
7C. Evening council. Evening.
I've been asked to give an update on what I've accomplished, what we've accomplished as the newly assigned community liaison. Basically, in the 2 months since I've been hired, I've put in about 90+ hours into learning the new job. Again, it's a part-time position where I've been allotted 16 hours a week, and so trying to match those hours. We're not quite there for the 2-month period, but certainly getting busier and busier with more and more public complaints. And since the code enforcement is a complaint driven process, it's starting to happen. I think one of the people have found out that there is a code enforcement liaison officer that's available to maybe resolve some of these issues that they're coming across. My other efforts have been dedicated to coming up to speed with city code and the community development codes. I've also met with several concerned citizens to listen to their challenges with some of the city code issues. I've also followed up with inquiries into potential code violations, either through the complaint forms or through other walking around town opportunities. I've spent some time reviewing previous violation files to better understand code violation abatement process and to determine the database requirements. One of our priorities was to develop a database to recapture some of our past code violations that we can then use historically, or to research other problematic, or see if somebody's a repeat offender. So still working on the database requirements and establishment of that system. I reviewed some chronic residents and properties with the histories of code violations, and we've had strategic discussions with the city administrator, and also with the fire chief, and also with Kathy, the city development or planning development. Some examples of some of my field investigations include locating the site of a homeless encampment. We determined it to be on Union Pacific Railroad property, so it's something that was outside of our jurisdiction, but we did call the Union Pacific folks to let them know that there was a homeless encampment on their property, and the reply we got was thank you, and we please understand that we have a long list of homeless encampments that are on our property, and we hope to resolve this one. I received one complaint about some raucous noise from one resident that's been happening on a routine basis. I went out and had a pleasant discussion with one of the occupants to let them know that that was a potential code violation. Again, it's with our strategy to hopefully educate people about code violations and the city code, and to have conversations with them before we have to escalate into other remedial actions. So from what I understand, with who I've spoken with, who knows about the situation, evidently that person or that residence has toned down their noise making, and hopefully that talk will be effective for some time. I've had discussions with a downtown business owner about some encroachment issues that have been sort of problematic in the past, and now that I'm the new code enforcement person, I would work with her to make sure that we could come to a reasonable solution to some of the encroachment issues that she has with some furniture on her sidewalk. So yeah, trying to do let's have a discussion first before we have to go escalate with any letter or members of violation. Other than that, some other successes I'd like to mention is we did have to write a letter for a violation of our temporary vendor permit. And we had a temporary vendor who had been a seasonal operator, and we learned that she was still operating outside the limits or outside the validity of her temporary permit issue. We wrote her a letter to cease and desist with operations. And we also copied the port to let them know that that person was operating in violation of the temporary permit. And when I got back in town the other day, I drove by the site where that business was operating, and the person has not, that food cart was no longer there. So I'm hoping we can call that an abatement of that issue. In my absence, also, Carrie had been working with Hood River Garbage to find out if 4 residents of the town had resumed their garbage service. We had issued a letter to 4 residences, letting them know that they would have to abide by the code to have garbage service. And I saw today that Hood River Garbage replied, and that those services with those 4 residents have resumed. So another abatement and resolution working either through education engagement or through letter writing. Okay, what else do I need to tell you about? Oh, on an admin note, I didn't feel comfortable going in the community without having some sort of label or identifying uniform. I've worked with Jordan and some local vendors to come up with a polo shirt. It's gonna have a nice with the city logo on it, and then community liaison, and then Jordan got a shirt as the city administrator. I was gonna say, if anybody would like a shirt that has it'd be easy. Yeah,
The Curtis Police shirt, sir.
I was just at a conference too, and I was kind of envious of some of the shirts that I saw. But anyway, that's something I've done that I think will help. And the other things I've done is starting to network with other peers within the code enforcement and community liaison fields. So basically, I made a contact with the Hood River County Sheriff to maybe do a ride along here in the near future. So I've had some exchanges trying to coordinate that. This week, supposed to happen last week, it didn't happen, and then this week, my point of contact is out of town, so I'm gonna have to continue working with him to coordinate a visit. I did go outside of what I normally do. I did get out on the river with the Hood River County Marine Patrol, and it was somewhat work related as well. It's a good foot in the door to do that, but not technically related to what I do here in the Cascade Locks. But I think it's important that we engage the Hood River Sheriff's Department, especially more and more potential areas to have other codes enforced that we might have the jurisdiction to do. I just got back from a 2-day conference. The Oregon Code Enforcement Association puts on an annual conference just to discuss current trends and to educate members of the association on various current subjects. This year's big topic was street smarts and safety. And it was really good refresher training for me because my background has been in maritime law enforcement, and my street smarts isn't as strong as my maritime smarts. So it was good to sit through a 6-hour class and think about things that I haven't thought about in several years now. So it was valuable training to me. My other takeaway, or the other topics that were discussed, situational awareness with animal abuse and animal code enforcement. So one of the big things is animal abuse often is an indication of family abuse and child abuse and spousal abuse. So sometimes if you come upon an animal abuse case, you may find something else. So that's good. One of my biggest takeaways from the conference was this one, there is, on average, it takes 4 to 5 engagement actions when there's a violation to get compliance or abatement or remediation and resolution. So 4 to 5 engagements can be a talk or a letter, or hopefully not to the point of having, go to the municipal court for action. But again, that's just an indication of how much time and effort it takes to get the average code enforcement or violation to be resolved. Let's see. A very interesting takeaway also from the conference was we had a gentleman from Gresham. He's in charge of their drone program. And it was fascinating to learn about the drone technology and how much drone technology is going to assist in future law enforcement activities and code enforcement activities as well. So don't be surprised, maybe somewhere down the road, somebody comes to the council meeting and say, hey, let me tell you about drones and what I think what a drone could do for the city. And so it's something that it's not too unrealistic. There's a lot of cost savings when you operate a drone compared to a person control or a helicopter control. So there were lots of applications I could see could be handled by drone technology. So just wanted to let you know about that. Other than that, that's what I've done for the last 2 months since I've been in the job. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, it sounds like you're off to a good start.
I hope so, yeah.
I think maybe we might have to spring for a jacket for him though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got the orange reflective vest of authority.
Yeah.
Did they supply you with some business cards?
I have business cards and have been distributing them left and right. Opportunity.
Good job.
Yeah, and then I talked to Councilman Miller about this. We rather have this go slow and do it right the first time. Make sure we build this program so it's sustainable and not go, well, crap, we can't afford Bob anymore. We have to cut him, and then what do we don't have any code enforcement, and then try and bring it back up 3 years later. Want to make sure we do it right the first time.
And any input, I would appreciate it.
Councilor Emily Baker's hand up.
Emily Baker.
Hello, I want to say thank you, Bob Camillucci, for jumping in and going to the conference. And, it's not always a pleasant job. And you, you bring up a good point. And at the time when some of our community development codes or our business codes it's time for us to look at them and change them as well. So when there is a code violation, such as a business that we might hope to change in the future, I think I'm just saying this to the whole council as well, that we need to prioritize some of these codes that need to be expanded to the betterment of the city. And then I just want to thank Bob. I know it's and my question was, do we have a fillable online form yet for code violation?
No, but we'll be working on that once I figure out how to do that. It's in the works. It's in the works.
Thank you. And maybe our tech people can help with that. Thank you.
And Councilor Farrell?
In the meantime, they can just fill out a complaint form that is online, right?
Correct,
Yeah, you can print it out and bring it in, or you can come to the counter.
Yeah, so I can fill out one of those. I had one question. I know with, broken down cars and stuff, one of the biggest issues that people have had or have said is that they don't have the money to have them towed. And I think, isn't there a company that will tow your vehicle for free? Have we come across?
I have not come across a company,
Okay,
I haven't had this issue yet, but again, I could investigate further, if there is a company that will tow, for free. Or if there's any, again, many other cities that learn have, abatement funds where they will do the towing or will do the hauling of trash. And it will be paid for, through the abatement fund, and I don't think we have.
we have zero funds for it.
No, I understand that. I think I'll look and see if I can find it and then do I send it to
You
you?
can send it, yeah.
Yeah,
There are also lots of charities, I mean, I'm sure it depends on the type of car, and how good condition it is, you can donate it and they'll come pick it up, so.
yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking. It's just, it would be nice to offer, if someone complains and they don't have the money to tow it, we need to figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah,
So,
one of the things I thought was interesting that, this week is the opportunity for folks to take their garbage to the Hood River facility to, with a coupon to dump onto 3 cubic yards of trash.
it helps. I think I think it worked better when we had it here in town.
Yeah,
Because I don't have to pay that.
yeah,
But it's better than nothing.
that's what I had heard at the conference, is a lot of folks are doing that. They go out and they get the community to help pay for dumpsters to be present for one day, and people are allowed to come in and bring what they can't store anymore to tidy up, so that's maybe something we could work with river garbage.
That's good.
Yeah.
So real quick, I just want to clarify, council procedures and reports and presentations. Right now, it's really not open for council discussion. It's really an opportunity for us to ask quick questions, and then we move into public comment, and then we can have our discussion. So does anybody else have any quick questions for clarification from Mr. Camillucci before we move on to public comment on the topic? So you mentioned Union Pacific in the right of way and how it's been challenging to get any action with them taking care of people that are camping illegally on the property. How is that different from any other property owner in the city who is allowing illegal behavior to take place or behavior that's happening on their property that is not in compliance with our codes? Why are we not able to take action with Union Pacific for allowing behavior that is in violation of our codes? But, if Ms. Farrell had illegal activity that was,
Well,
people camping in her yard.
as a code enforcement officer of the Port jurisdiction, where do I have the authority to enforce code? In my understanding, here in Hood River, here in Cascade Locks, along the easement or right of way or whatever that line of delineation is, that is considered Union Pacific property, and I don't have the authority as a peace officer here in Hood River, in Cascade Locks, to say, to go enforce.
Why is that different though than any other property owner in the city?
Because I do have authority to go on.
But why wouldn't you have authority on why is it different? You said it's their property. Their right of way, it's their easement, but it's going through our city.
But it's not city property.
I see, thank you. Okay, so it's not city property.
Is the question, can we issue a nuisance complaint against that?
Yes.
I
That was
mean,
my question.
we probably could, but is it gonna go anywhere? I mean, we could cite UPVR into municipal court.
Yeah, but I think for your point as far as the
Yeah.
what is the actions to get some resolution? It might not, but that was my question. Thank you for answering it. And then record keeping, it seems like that would be really important for being able to have your notes, if it takes 4 to 6 actions to get any resolution, what are you currently doing for?
What I've, in the limited time that I've had to, I've used the complaint form to document my actions and my engagements with the individual and any follow-on action. So again, it's something that I've realized too, from my previous experience, it's important to have a system of documentation, so you don't lose track of what was said, when it was said, or who we talked to.
It's like a great low tech solution.
Right now,
Just take the complaint form and write it on the back.
Actually, I am, that is my low tech solution. Actually, I have even put notes in my phone so I don't forget things that I thought were important. That's being my age of 58, I sometimes lose track of things. My short term memory sometimes gets in the way. So
On that note, did the city provide a phone for you?
yes.
Thank you. That just answered my questions. Any other questions for Mr. Camillucci before we move on to public comment? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, you said we had some public
We
comment.
have some chats, yes. Pam T has asked if there's a strategy for code enforcement, no matter how old. I'm sure there are many downtown concerns. It'd be nice to notify the public that codes are about to be enforced. Next is from Tiffany. There has been a Cadillac parked at the cemetery for 3 days. There's a sign that says no overnight parking. Can you drive around the city and look for things? Or is it complaint? Is it only complaint generated? And another one from Pam, it has to be submitted to the county for true enforcement. Yes. I can address some of those. In terms of strategy, I think, let's talk about the DLC grant. A lot of our focus will be downtown. Some of that code development changes will be focused on what we can do downtown. Because the way our code is written, there's not much we can do to really force any action with property owners that have idle property. So that's working. And yes, we would make notifications as well. The first thing would probably be myself or Bob going and knocking on the door and just doing an introduction and not have a nasty letter be the first time we talk to them. In terms, typically, yes, it is complaint driven, but there are things like abandoned cars that I see or other staff see. They will mention it, we will tag the car. That's about the only thing that's really not complaint driven is abandoned cars.
Yeah, well, that Cadillac over in the Sunbury parking lot's been there for quite a while.
There's also a small truck parked in front of the old hardware store for the last week, and I drive past it in the morning, go, I gotta do that, and then I drive on my way home, and go, I gotta do that. As soon as I get out of my car, I forget.
Oh, the Cadillac, I think, does not have current plates or
Okay.
tags on it.
Alright, we will take a look in the morning. And then, submitted to county for true enforcement. No, it does not have to go to the county unless you're talking about UPRR, but no, it does not have to go to the county. County won't enforce our ordinances or code. They specifically told us that.
I have a question on the Union Pacific. Do they have own that land by eminent domain and for the federal government, or is it?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
If that makes it also more complicated for us as a town, because they don't own it by the state's rights, or like it is a federal thing, so we can do the nuisance thing and try to do that kind of.
They have their own police force too as well, so
Yeah, so it just, we complain enough times, maybe they'll come, squeaky wheel gets the grease, but.
yeah, Bob did go down there, he took pictures of the can, not geolocated, but located on the map, we sent it to their PR person who we've talked with, mainly with the quiet zone issue in the past. He acknowledged the email, said he's forwarded on to their law enforcement, and like Bob said, they have a backlog of this across the country, so. They're not the only one, not just cities are dealing with homelessness.
Councilor Farrell.
I mean, God forbid, like a fire should start because people are living there.
Yeah.
But if it would start or something bad would happen, I think it would be good that we have it documented that we let them know about it.
Correct, yep. And I think to what has been discussed here, I think we should let them know like you said, meet the squeaky wheel more than just once, and potentially, be a little bit more persistent about it. So it's documented, and specifically regarding that concern about how, it's not such a danger right now this time of year,
But it's gonna get cold.
but it's gonna get cold, and the dry season will return. I just want to say that I'm really glad that Camillucci's in this position, and I'm glad to hear the updates, so thank you.
It sounds like you've done a lot of work for the very short amount of hours you've been putting in, which it's awesome.
Any other discussion on 7C before we move on to 7B? All right, moving on to 7D, discussion on ordinance 457 and resolution 1487.
During public comment concerns regarding the passage of resolution 1487, and if it was valid due to the delay in passing ordinance 457. Below is a brief recap of the events to help remind everybody. June 12th, council and staff believed ordinance 457 had passed, but later found it was invalid and required unanimous vote on first reading. Council approved resolution 1487, passed implementing the new rates for the roll card service. July 24th, ordinance 457 passed after second reading. I contacted City Attorney Cleveland to review the old and new ordinance and resolution. I laid out the timeline of events as well and asked him to provide his opinion, issues, and solutions for the city. At the time of putting this out, I did not have the memo. I have now presented council with a copy of that memo. Summing it up, he had no concerns about the passing of the ordinance, because the previous resolution 315 still gave the power of council to set a resolution for those rates.
Any public comment on this? We didn't receive any comments on this. Anybody online?
Tiffany has a comment.
Ms. Pruitt?
Okay, so the city attorney sees nothing wrong with voting on the ordinance and voting on the resolution the same night, and then voting on this, having the second reading of the ordinance later on. Is there not an order to do things, a proper order to do things? What would be the reason for not doing it in the proper order?
Is that the conclusion of your statement, Ms. Pruitt?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
You comment in the chat, I think it was for the previous topic about imminent domain.
Let's read that real quick, just so we get it on the record.
Yeah, so in the chat from Cody, for anyone to declare eminent domain, 20 years minimum of property taxes must be paid for it, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, no more public comment on that, council discussion. Councilor Miller, I know that you've got some thoughts on this. Is there anything you want to talk about?
It's kind of late now. I read the city attorney's statement and found it a little baffling because the resolution refers to 14 or to 457, and it was not in the proper order. And I'm still hung up on why this never went to the voters to begin with. So right now, it is what it is.
So your specific concern is more with the resolution, with the fee, not the ordinance.
Oh, no, my whole concern is with all of it. It's been a mess. It was just one big mess. If it had gone to the voters like it should have, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Thank you. Any other?
Councilor Emily Baker's kind of.
Councilor Emily Baker.
Hello, I want to say that I do trust our city attorney, and therefore, while I may not understand it exactly as well, and I think with the language in our documents that it didn't need to go to a whole person vote, and yet I do know that there are some other areas of our garbage ordinance that have been brought up to us that might need to be looked at later, as we have many things to clean up that and again, as I mentioned with the financial plan in the work session, I am not averse to doing the best we can with what we know and what we need to do, such as the roll cart, and then changing it later if we have to. So I just want to put that out in the air, that some of the language about you can't take your garbage in your own vehicle or something needs to be revisited at one point. I just want to put that out. I'm glad that we passed what we did and that our attorney has looked at the language, and yet just putting it out there that it has been brought up to, there are some maybe other areas where we will clean up some of our ordinances.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Councilor Farrell?
I really feel that it's been really sloppy too, and things weren't done in the correct order, and this may be true what the city attorney is saying, but I don't like it as an answer. And I know it's a done deal, but I really hope that council has learned that we need to take into account the residents on some of these things instead of just making decisions when it is something that is not necessary. And that's all I got.
Councilor Compton, Keller, you have any comments?
I just echo Ms. Farrell's comments that we need to do a better job.
Thank you.
I got nothing.
I just wanted to add, that there has been some discussion regarding the antiquated language in ordinance 457. And I was thinking about this after our last council meeting, and I think when we're making revisions and changes to our ordinances, we really try to make the smallest change possible to affect the change we're trying to impart. And the language that's in that ordinance is there for a reason, and a lot of times we don't know the historical reasonings behind that. And so that's why I think there can be some this carryover of this antiquated language, even when we're updating and revising these, because there can be unintentional consequences with just massively rewriting an ordinance, if that makes sense. And so with ordinance 457 specifically, we just made the smallest changes possible to impart the changes we're trying to create, if that makes sense. All right, anything else before we move on to 70? Okay, moving on to 70 city administrator benefit report.
All right, got a handful of items this week. The sewage leak back from September 15th, I did ask Jacobs, the company that operates our wastewater plant, as well as JW Feller, our contractor, or construction general contractor for all the work being done, the company that just installed this pump 2 months ago, to provide a report on what happened with the cause of the failure of the pump and why the calls did not go out to on-call public works staff. Attached our reports from both of them for review. The cause of the pump is still the cause of the pump failure is still being researched. The lack of after hours calls has been resolved. We won't know about a penalty from DEQ for a few months, but again, they have been notified, they're aware of it happening. If I've learned anything quickly about DEQ is be upfront with them, talk to them sooner than later. If you try and work with them, they'll be a lot nicer to you. I would like to make one correction on JW Fowler's report. The sentence phone number 1 and 5 are not manned 24/7. That is not true. It's confirmed with Public Works Supervisor Price that all numbers are manned 24/7. Crime stats from the River Sheriff's Office have been updated and are attached. I will note that the number of hours worked by the Sheriff's Office has dropped significantly in June, July, and August. They've been jumped at or below 24 hours per week for the per week minimum. The Sheriff's Office has been severely understaffed. From my understanding, Sheriff English came out to the patrol out here not too long ago. So they are severely understaffed. I have talked to, city attorney, Cleveland, as well as other city administrators, kind of get their feel on how we should move forward with this. If this trend continues, I want to see what our September numbers are. But we are paying for a specific service above and beyond what we already pay in property taxes, and we are not getting it. So I want to approach this correctly, but if the trend continues, we need to take some action.
I'm assuming that in the contract that we have with them, there's nothing in there that says if they fail to give us the right.
I just double check, I don't remember off the top of my head, I had, city attorney Cleveland review it. And so, yeah, for the first step would be a nice little letter saying, hey, we've noticed you're not doing this. And then maybe it's request a prorated rate, or we take our own action, wait for the report and only pay, do the math and pay what they provided us, so. There's some options, but.
Be nice if we could get those credited towards.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a couple $1,000s a month, yeah. So, yeah, it's not a small amount of money. McCord Creek Bridge project, I reached out to, or we, the city, has reached out to other contractors to get a second opinion on that $1.4 million estimate. The what caused, and I believe that's what it cost construction as well, is not digging into the rock and capping the conduit with concrete. It'd be cheaper to only dig down to that level of rock and then capping it with concrete. So if somebody comes along later and digs, they hit the concrete, not the wire. That is a form that has been used in not just here, other places across the country, in places that can't dig down to 3 feet. Because we might come across the boulder half the size of this room. It's hard to tell. Let's see here. We're also looking at options to stay on the north side of the bridge. Our goal was to make this a one-time permanent replacement underground, but we may be limited by finances to only do ground above work and have it be temporary. Attached are photos of the area. I'll provide a little bit more detail here in a second. I did speak incorrectly at the last meeting. We do have an easement allowing us to be there. The easement just does not say ODOT would pay if they make us move our time. So if we ever get an easement again, make sure that language is in there. Just for future reference. And so that's why they're making us pay for it. I'm also meeting with staff from the Oregon Department of Energy on October 19th to see what funding options they have to help us. They have several grants coming up soon that may help. I don't know if the timing will line up correctly. I reached out to Representative Helfrich and Bonham through email. I did call them as well after I wrote this and got voicemails. I did reach out to staff from Wyden, Merkley, and Blumenauer. I heard back from staff from, I think, Merkley. I can never remember which one's which. But we actually have a regional solutions meeting here in town on October 25th with staff from the Governor's Regional Solutions Office, ODOT, ODO, DLCD, Dan, the staff person from one of the centers, going to be there, just focused on projects in Cascade Lock. So this will be a discussion at that meeting.
Dan Marr,
yes, I couldn't remember his last name. And I can't remember which center, but he said, okay, he will be there. So let me, I'll bring up.
also.
Yeah.
Right, and down in the LOC meeting, Senator Whiting will be there with his staff members. I think it'd be a good chance for us to get face to face with them.
Definitely, yeah.
And corner them and talk to them about this.
I don't know if Jessica is still on, but have let MCEDD know that this is happening, and can they do anything as well?
I have talked to them about it, but not in too detail about ways they could help. So I want to bring up a little hand-drawn map I did. That kind of explains, it's in your packet as well, but I want it up on the screen. When it's closed. I know, that's my picture, so that's why it's sailing forever. So in there is an idea, kind of gives the first one is this map here laying out kind of where the work is being done. If you are driving eastbound, so from Portland to Cascade Locks, and that bridge where it says has the yellow signs that they dip on them, it's that bridge. That's the one they're replacing. Yeah, that's the easiest way to explain it. So it's mile marker 37. There we go. Yeah, that is McCord Creek Bridge. So. As you can see up here, way up top, Cascade locks, there's the work being done, it's about 6 miles in there, so. That's kind of reference, so it's not actually in the city limits, it's our south basis.
How many customers are served to the west of that point?
They,
You got, Warrendale, Dodson, Malone Falls, Bridal Veil.
yeah, I mean, the biggest customer would be Multnomah Falls, but other than that, it's residents, less than 100, give or take, maybe probably less, I don't know the exact number.
And so. Tell them we're gonna shut up Malone Falls, I do it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that one. So this next one here, I know it's a little hard to see. The black line is where it originally is. It is on the south side of the highway. And then comes underneath the bridge, actually goes inside the bridge, runs like inside, there's a man-sized tunnel you can go through where the conduit runs through. It comes out at the other end of the bridge to a vault and then goes overhead along here. And then comes across the highway overhead and hits houses on the south side, but also stays on the north side and hits houses over there. Our original thought was to keep it on the south side in the red. Through this bike trail, this brand new bike trail I just put in to tear it up and put this underground. Keep it on the south side and use the same line to run it across and have it split there. I'm sure there was a reason why it went underground here. I don't know, I couldn't tell you what the reasoning was back then, but I'm sure there was. The option we don't want to go with, but we might have to just for funding, is a temporary, what they call shoe fly, is put it back probably about a half a mile east out of the work zone, run a shoe fly over the highway, and then keep it to the south, run something either overhead or underground here, so it's out of their construction zone. Probably attach it to the side of the bridge and then do everything overhead here. We would have to install some new poles. And sorry, Denise, I probably should have shared this online for you to see, so my apologies there. But I will also, yeah, just saw your hand, sorry, Denise. Oh, I want that. Why is it full screen? No, I don't want to do that. You. Full screen. No, I have pictures on my desktop, that's what I'm trying to do is exit full screen. Or are you not letting me in there? We go.
Yeah, too many.
Ooh, wow, man. Okay,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's fine.
yeah, I'm notorious for saving stuff on my desktop. All right, so this is the access road. This is on the north side of the river, of the highway. There's, I think, 7 poles along this access road that, according to ODOT, is too low. We need to raise them so it's called the neutral wires, that lowest wire that runs along is at least 28 feet high. And myself, Derek, with the electric department and our engineers are very confused as to why. With 28 feet is really high. I don't know what kind of equipment they want to get under 28 feet. The only thing I can think of is maybe prefab bridge construction. Maybe they're bringing in pillars. I honestly don't know. But 28 feet is really high. So if we do the temporary work, we have to replace all the poles to put in taller poles. We really don't want to do that if we don't have to. So that's why we were trying to do the underground one. This pole here would actually have to move. They're putting in a bioswell. This is, I think, the 3rd or 4th pole in. They're doing a bioswell. So this would probably have to move to the other side of the road. So there's that as well. This is the conduit that goes underneath the eastbound bridge over here. This is the westbound bridge. As you can see, it actually goes up into the bridge. Sorry, Denise, let me share this. I keep forgetting. Too many screens. Share. Okay. All right, so again, yes, this is that goes up into the pole, and then this is a manhole to get in that crawl space, and it runs through the bridge. There's a crawl space right there. So it's got all sorts of spiders and lizards and snakes and whatever it was. So yeah, nobody wants to go in there. This is where it comes out from the ground underneath the eastbound bridge. It's been eroded, so this was buried at some point. Now it's exposed, at least the conduit, the wire is still in the conduit, so it's fine. Let's see here, I had another one. This is actually the space underneath the bridge. It's really hard to tell going over the bridge and aerial maps. It's actually really decent sized creek with a very large canyon. It's bigger than I thought when we went under there. This is another one that's hard to tell. That rock right here is about where it goes underground from the bike path and goes underground right here. And then the last picture, this is the west end of the bike path at the start of the bridge. Behind us is Liaison State Park. Liaison State Park. So it probably run along this barrier wall right here. Our engineer's concern is if we do any work next to this wall, cause the wall to be unstable, because apparently they're just hand-placed bricks or rocks. So that's kind of a summary of what's going on, our thoughts, and why we want to stay on the south side of it. And then also, I think there's a separate handout in your packet, is kind of a breakdown of kind of trail of events that led to this point. I can find it now. So I had City Reporter Bruce help me put this together. Derek emailed this information back in September of 2022. There was some extensive work done by City Reporter Woosley as well as City Attorney Rubin or Cleveland to look up property search records and easements to see if there's something we could do to have them pay for it. Again, that has not been fruitful, and then really all conversation died right before I got here last year. I had no idea this project was happening or was going to be needed. There was nothing in my notes in my transition handbook, and I did not know about it until June of this year when Derek passed an email on to me that ODOT was back into communicating with us. So I spent the next couple of weeks and months verifying all this information, meeting with ODOT to get exactly what they were looking for. Talking with our engineers to see what our options are. The first minutes of me informing council are August 28th. I swear I said something earlier in June, but it's not in the minutes. So may not have happened. Then my report last week as well. So that's kind of where we stand. Again, I'm tracing down every possible option to find funding for this. ODOT has a loan program we could possibly qualify for, which I'm sure at this point would be horrible interest rates, but that is an option as well. We're chasing down everything. Other than that, not too much to report. We're still waiting on updated estimates from a new contractor for the digging. Derek and I originally thought this project would be closer to $700,000-800,000. Still a lot of money, but not 1 point.
And that 1.4 million was to do what you really want to under.
Yes, underground itself. And that was also BKI. BKI tends to be high on their quotes with a 20% contingency. So that does include contingency on it, but I rather plan for the worst.
Do we have numbers for the cheapest way we could?
Not yet, no, they are working. I haven't seen anything yet.
And then do you have any record of any conversations between City Administrator Zimmerman and council?
City Reporter usually did not see anything.
So the first time the council was aware of it was when this was brought to us in September.
In August, according to this.
August.
Yes. I thought I said a comment kind of offhand in one of my reports because I learned about it right before a meeting, but I didn't see the minutes, so maybe I'm making it up. Yeah. So that's where we stand, but we are moving forward. Just to reiterate, I think I said at the last meeting, their deadline to have this work done is October 31st of next year. So we have 13 months, just under 13 months.
That's not a lot.
It's really not, no, for this kind of work.
Do we know if there's any environmental issues we're gonna come into with trying to put a underground power line under a creek?
So that part would not go under the creek. It would
Okay.
go underground and come up, be attached to the side of the bike trail and then go back underground. Or the side of the bike trail bridge.
Okay,
Yeah, so we would go under the creek, yeah.
cause that part, like,
I know.
that sounded like when I saw the drawing and I was like, is that going?
No,
Are we
no.
trying to put that under the creek? Cause that's gonna be like one.
We'd have to-
Environmental
We'd
nightmare
have to,
because of.
yeah, that's.
Anybody else have any comments on this before we move on?
Yeah, I have one more comment. I mean, if push comes to shove. Some. Media attention to this may loosen some pocketbooks,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, Multnomah Falls doesn't have power.
Yeah,
There's a lot of. There'll be a lot of unhappy people.
that's right.
I think that
Just the threat of.
our
that
approach to trying to
happening.
get some political support on this initiative also is.
Yeah, at first,
Yeah.
do that first, but that's why I said push come to shove. Then, you know, we get down the line and we're not getting any, we may just have to go to the meeting.
And I am looking for your kind of the opposite end, the cheapest way we can get this out of the way during the construction
Yeah.
project, because I think all of us, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody else, but I had a little bit of a heart attack when I heard 1.4 million. And it would be helpful to know, you know, what we can do to keep that funds.
There's no way we could do that.
No. Councilor Ingram, baby.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've looked into this, but in the quick research I've done, there's from Scenic America funding underground projects, tapping into federal, state and local resources. I sent that to you because of I think it's the Paradise Fires in Northern California. Undergrounding is important for future. And that's why I said, talking to MCEDD about the net zero energy, and for future development, undergrounding really is the way to go. So if that can help you, I don't know if you'll have time this next week to look at some of the resources I sent as well.
Yeah, like I've said several times, I mean, this is probably something that would be done eventually, is to underground this, we just didn't have it in the budget. I mean, I'd love to have all of that underground on the south bank to eliminate any concerns or maintenance issues.
And there might be money, and it might be that we can't get it, but I want to send it to you.
More to come, I'll keep updating you as I get more information. Councilor Filler, Fairgold, say that right, I was trying to say it wrong. Fairgold? Fair. Asked for clarification on the switch from irrigation season to regular sewer billing. And this was in the newsletter as well. During the irrigation season, which is April 21st to October 19th, the city charges a flat rate for sewer, $45.50 per month, regardless of the amount of water used. This is incentive for people to water their property and keep it from drying out and exacerbating fire risk. During the regular season, October 20th through April 20th, accounts are billed $45.50 up till 10,000 gallons of water usage is registered. If the account goes over 10,000 gallons in a month, the billing rate moves to $8.77 per 1,000 gallons. So if your meter reads 10,001 gallons, your bill would be $87.71. This is incentive for residents to use less water when not needed and beneficial for the community.
So if you haven't used a lot of water and your bill does that, you've got a water leak.
Yes, and really 10,000 gallons is a lot of water, lot. And that 10,000 gallons is pretty standard around other cities. That's what I had in my water bill. So, and that's plenty of water for a 4-person family.
Thank you.
Yep. Jessica brought this up earlier. MCEDD is under symposium November 3rd. There's been interest from Councilor Happy Miller and Ronnie Baker, as well as Mayor Fallon to attend. It's $20 for the event and then $20 for the lunch after the event.
This Meta said that we need to register for that event.
Yes.
Will you guys be registering us?
Yeah, if I can get who wants to go, I can register with that. Anybody, you three, there are what's left,
Gonna be on a Saturday.
you can ask them, but
Oh, I know.
I would be interested, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to go.
yeah, you'll have other business, yeah.
We can bring back notes for you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I can get those four registered. Street vendors, Mr. Camillucci brought it up earlier, we had our vendor card come back after their 120 days expired. This is a matter that has to do with the development code, which requires land use and is a very lengthy process following the state's process with public hearings. They do have the specific development code on here, just for reference. This also was mentioned when we originally talked about this at the April 24th meeting as well. There it is. A temporary retail and service activity in a commercial zoning district shall be permitted without a site plan review or conditional use approval. Provided it does not operate for more than 44 months in any calendar year. So that's how we got to the 120 days on the vendor permit. So this is one of those things we're looking to streamline and make easier or more business friendly when we do the development code. So unfortunately, it's not something we can't, it's not an ordinance where we can just kind of go, okay, let's update this ordinance and have it done in the next 2 council meetings. It's a rather long process.
I was just gonna comment that I'm working through some business licensing with the city of Troutdale. And they have different business license categories, and one of them is a street side vendor license. And part of that is just like, getting a conditional use permit for any sort of space. They have the same approval process, so just the due diligence, safety, there's a lot that goes into that. So it's a bigger issue than just changing and updating our.
Yeah, and I will point out this temporary vendor application is free, where other cities will charge $200, $300, $500. Just throwing that out there. A couple minor things that I didn't have or popped up between now and sending this report out. Obviously, LOC conference is Thursday and Friday this week. I will be in attendance. FEMA has gotten back to us kind of about the grant for replacing the roof. They wanted more information, so I've been working with staff. They wanted specifics on the generator we had that the city was gonna donate as part of the project, voltage levels and other fun stuff. So there is movement, kind of. It hasn't been complete silence. They did get back to us. We have started IT updates. We have the new server is going in this week as well as new phone. So IT updates are moving forward. I mentioned the regional solutions meeting on the 25th. That is happening, and the port is having a special meeting on the 25th to talk about our proposal for the electrical system and what they want to do with their $2.4 million. So they will be talking with BKI, the same engineers we have, and their different options. I will be there in attendance, listening, and to answer any possible questions that come up, but I'm not presenting. So that's all I got.
Is that the 25th? I thought the MCEDD, there's also a regional meeting happening in town?
Yeah, that's the regional solutions meeting.
Pardon?
That's the regional solutions meeting with,
Right.
Yeah, the governor's office, ODOT, ODO, VLCD, and other electeds. And the port will be there, but it will be focused on Cascade locks.
Okay. And then the port is having a special meeting at the same date about,
Correct. Yes.
okay,
Busy day.
And then not to go backwards, but I did want to go back to the overflow issue.
Oh, yes.
And I'm just looking at Mr. Isley's email. It says at 4:22 on the morning of September 15th, I had an alarm notification went out to the Michigan communication system. This notification was not acknowledged by anyone. Phone numbers 125 are not manned 24/7. And number 5 is our emergency phone. Anyway, so I guess, what's the purpose of this if no one's monitoring it after business hours?
They are. That for some reason the system was wired incorrectly. It was sent to do, from my understanding, it was sent to do text messages, not actual phone calls.
It says in his emails, phone numbers 125 are not manned 24/7. Only during business hours. The notification system was initially set up and tested on startup. to dial out, notify the following numbers with any alarms. If number one doesn't answer, acknowledge the alarm, then it automatically dials two, and if number two doesn't acknowledge the alarm, then it automatically dials three, and so on. So it sounds like it went through the list of 1 through 5, but because those phones are not manned.
They are manned. They are manned. They go to our staff. The calls did not go through. Our staff did not get the calls.
So it's a typo then in the email?
No, he misspoke. I had it in my report. I confirmed it with Supervisor Sheldon. Price, those phones are manned.
Okay,
Calls did not go through.
got it. And so it was because of, they were set up for text messaging, not,
From my understanding, yes, they didn't actually receive phone calls.
I see. So it's a voice number, but they were sending text alerts.
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, if I got there, Yeah.
Well, if the text alerts weren't set up right, it could have just been a blank message.
I'm spamming it for 22 AM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
I had a question about the city. City development code, process. Do we have any plans as of now on when we're planning on tackling that?
So the grant that you guys just approved tonight, part of that would be creating draft language to present to the planning commission. So the the first step is the planning commission has to go through their process, doing public hearings and approving it, and then it goes to council to approve. So part of that plan would be helping create draft language to start that process.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because it was mentioned in April and we haven't done anything necessarily to move that along. I know it's a thing that a lot of people would like to change.
Yes, and I'm not a huge fan of saying this, but we keep saying we've been waiting for the strategic plan to finalize and then move forward with that, and it just kind of keeps getting pushed back. So as soon as that plan is finished, we can use that as our guide to move forward. But it's pretty clear that downtown development is the overwhelming goal of the community and council.
Any other, do we have any public comments on city administrator Bennett's report? Any council discussion? Right, move on to mayor and council comments. Councilor Emily Baker, would you like to kick things off?
Thank you for welcoming me by Zoom as I had a family emergency. And I want to thank all the staff again for getting us a very big packet this time, and City Administrator Bennett for your work with the Strategic Planning Committee and the grants and forward thinking on this electrical work. I appreciate our new code enforcement person. Thank you coming here, Bob, and what you're doing. Thanks to MCEDD. I'm understanding that better. I appreciate all that you can help. Everybody who presented, I'm excited for Sarah Patrick to join the tourism committee. I wanted to remind this body that one of our goals is that we need to do goal setting for our committees. We cannot ask them, and now with planning and so much we're going to ask them to do, we need to find some time, be it in a meeting or a work session, where we set goals that we want our committees to be working on. It's not fair to them to move ahead when we haven't done our part, and that would require our looking at the documents as well, that we've been provided those in the past. And then yay with the strategic plan. I know we were all waiting for that as well, so maybe it comes after that, but we have a lot to do, and we can as we honor the committee volunteers that work with us, we want to guide them according to our goals as well. So I just want to point that out. And then I want to I lost my train of thought. Thank you tonight. We heard some differing opinions, and I appreciated the decorum and the respect from all parties on council and in the public comment area as well. And I truly appreciate that, even as we look at a new form that will have our decorum rules. So I want to point that as we build trust in our city and communication with the community, that this respect and respectful differing opinions is one way that we are building that together. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Compton.
I just want to thank everybody that showed up today. Jessica Mehta, your presentation was excellent. I learned a lot about what MCEDD does for us and everybody in the community. Thank you, Bob Camillucci, for your report. Seems like you've been doing a lot of good work. Keep doing it. And I hope we can get this McCord Creek thing situated in a not as costly way. That is a heavy burden that for a temporary solution, because as soon as the bridge is done, we can put it back through the bridge, right?
Correct.
That's the, yeah. 1.4 million for a temporary solution.
Well, so that, sorry, that would be a permanent solution.
That would be.
That'd be the full underground on the south side.
But still, I mean, like, even I could. That's a permanent solution, but a temporary one shouldn't be terribly expensive. Like, it's expensive, yes, I know, and like running power lines and making sure it's all in code is not cheap, but. Couple $100,000 seems like a lot for something that's gonna be taken down and rerouted anyway. That's it.
Councilman Keller.
Thank you for the decorum language. I really like the way that it was written, so thank you. I have a couple of tasks. Is it possible, one, to get the applications to the various committees typed? So that like the handwriting, not the handwriting, the way it was copied was hard to read some of it. Can we email out the newsletter? On our form, we're asking for email addresses. Can we start an email list of our newsletter? Would that be possible?
You know, we looked into that and it's fairly expensive to do. I don't know if that's something, that was a couple years ago, but we did look into that via the website, through the website as a platform from them. But it was an upgrade that we couldn't do it.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
And is it possible, it's my understanding that businesses pay a registration fee. Is it possible to get a list of all the businesses that have paid this $25?
Registration fee for what?
Yeah.
I was talking to a business owner and they said they paid a $25 licensing fee to the city of Cascade Locks.
The OLCC
Oh,
permit renewal is $25.
Oh, maybe that's what it
If
was.
you have, you know, if you have an OLCC license,
Okay.
you have to pay this renewal fee every year.
Maybe that's what it was. And then I want to echo the gratitude and the thoughts from that were previously said about the presentations. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Farrell.
Yeah, the presentations were wonderful. Let's see, where do I want to start here? I want to thank, I guess the garbage company is who I would say for the dumpster here at the city office. I pulled mine from my house up the road to partake in putting mine there. So, that was nice to get rid of that one. And as far as the other dumpsters, I would like to get, dumpster days back here in Cascade Locks. When we are able to do that, rather than going to Hood River as the new normal. I think there's a lot of people in town that would prefer having it here. They can't get to Hood River. Let's see here. Going backwards to when we sent out letters for people to trim back their growth that was around their house. Did all of that get settled? The letters that we sent out and
Yes, I believe everybody took care of it, yes.
Okay, and then that'll be something that,
Yes, that'll be between Fire Chief Logan and Mr. Camillucci. Camillucci, what's your name?
Go get it right.
I was wondering if there was anything in the works that you were planning on putting on the November 2024 ballot. I think there's something that we had.
Wait,
On the ballot, no, not for this year, it'd be next year.
No, 2024, I said.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, and, I thought you meant this November, yes, the discussion was any changes to the charter review. Or Fire Chief Logan and I are gonna propose doing an operational levy for the fire department. We're just in the early planning stages of that, so not ready to present to council yet, but.
Sure.
Those are the only two things,
Okay,
and the deadline for that is August.
and then lastly, I was looking at the calendar, one of our council meetings falls on Christmas. So we might wanna make sure that we talk about that coming up, we'll have to skip that council meeting. And then now with the new hours and stuff of staff, I don't know how you wanna work the, city council packets that need to be available for the city council meeting after Thanksgiving.
So, yeah, I was thinking about that today, actually.
So just kind of put that letter in your ear. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Council Miller.
Like to thank staff for all their hard work and for Jessica for her presentation. Bob, yeah, you're on the right track. I think it's been a long time coming for the city and code enforcement, and I think this is a great start. Is stop out. Now, the city kind of threw a roadblock in their planning on getting open by this conditional use permit on a traffic study. And from what I understand now, that traffic study has been done and the conditional use permit is not necessary.
I had not heard that, we just got documents from them today, and I sent them on to our planner.
Okay, but they have been putting out a lot of expense in buying their equipment and their new appliances, booths and what have you. And we need to help move them forward as fast as possible to get the permitting through county so they can get themselves open. I mean, they're a legitimate business. They are established with 8 restaurants throughout the state. Holding them up any further is just a waste of time and money for them. Okay, also, and bring this back up, that gift basket from the Oregon Mayor's Association. That needs to be resolved. Because the money was not approved by council, which it should have been. The mayor from the 8th through the 11th of August spent time buying these gifts. We had a meeting on the 14th. It was never brought to our attention that this was bought and city money was being used. It came out of the tourism budget. And then when it was put in the register, it was listed as a donation. And to me, that looks like it was somebody's trying to hide something. And it still was not brought to council attention. The only way it got to council was, I questioned it, of what this charge was. And since then, nothing. I want to recommend that we, by consensus, ask the city attorney to weigh in on this. And whether she should be required to pay this money back, or what other repercussions there are. But this definitely is not covered by our council procedures, or it's covered by council procedures. What she did was not legal. So I would like to have a consensus that the city attorney weigh in on this and give us an opinion.
Before we do that, would you like to make any comments on that?
I think there may have been some miscommunication on kind of the events that folded. I did talk to the mayor about this, and with, we consulted about how to pay for those funds, and we determined tourism was the best option. So it wasn't just her on her own. I think it was before she bought them, her and I came to that conclusion.
To use the
Tourism.
TLT funds, tourism funds.
Yeah.
For, and what was the rationale behind using TLT funds for?
I mean, those baskets are typically for promoting, the city that you come from. So I mean, they're in every conference, so. Or not every, but most conferences have them, so. Yeah, they're there to promote the city. A lot of them will have, free hotel stays, things like that. So,
We usually get baskets, you go to the businesses in town and you ask for the donation. And that's what you put in there. You don't go buy the gift certificate and then put it in there and use city money without notifying council first. And that's what our council procedures specify. We have to keep, it is our responsibility to keep track of how our city money is spent. So I would like the city attorney to weigh in on this.
Since it'll come up again, I have no problem with asking the attorney to make it more clear. I mean, it should be something that is explained, I think.
Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Councilor Emily Baker's hand up.
Yep, Emily Baker.
We voted earlier this year to allow tourism committee to spend up $2,500 without coming to council. And I feel that this falls under that, below $2,500. And if our city administrator suggested tourism funds, and I know that I've been at conferences and they've said TLC funds are paying for these baskets, and whether or not, a person usually asks for donations or buys the things. And I know that it was mentioned that this basket brought in almost, was like maybe cost $250 and it brought in $570, which was for scholarships for more of these mayors to go to the conferences, of which our mayor got a scholarship for the conference. I find nothing unethical about this. I find nothing. In fact, I find talking about it over and over again to be singling out one of our trusted members of our team, of which we are a team. And we went through a process to vote that tourism wanted to not have to ask us to spend up to $2,500. And this was below that. So it seems silly to single out this one expense. Otherwise, we need to start looking at every tourism expense that costs $250.
Tourism was not notified.
We are in charge of tourism. TLT taxes are city.
Tourism committee was not notified.
All right, we need to kind of, thank you, Emily Baker, for your comments. Mr. Compton, Mr. Keller, do you have any feelings on this? You'd like to, how do you feel?
I feel like this is the wrong time to bring up things that needs to be in the agenda if we're going to be making decisions on anything. We can have a consensus to add it to the agenda. But we can't, we've gone over this, council comments are not the time to be adding and asking for things to be done from the council. It is, we're past the action items, we're past reports and presentations, we're in wrap up right now. It's not appropriate.
I thought
If you want to-
nodding to that comment, in the idea of expediency, we all agree that maybe we should table this discussion and put it on a later agenda for future discussion.
And that's the council, we can vote to put it on the agenda if the mayor does not approve.
I think we can. That would be fine with me, to vote to put it on an agenda item. So we can deal with it appropriately.
And I think it's, I understand, what you're saying, Counselor Emily Baker, but I do think it's important from a transparency and trust perspective to just hear this out and so I think that would be the right thing to do is let's have one final discussion on this topic, and I think it'd be beneficial for everybody to resolve this in a productive way.
And that's why I asked for an opinion of city attorney to put it to rest one way or the other.
I think we need to have a council consensus to take things to the city attorney though. So I think it's still, it's a predominant agenda to get that consensus. I think that's the right thing to do. Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else you want to add? No. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, thank you all again for your patience. I think I made less mistakes this time around than I did last time. So appreciate the coaching, Marilyn, preparing for this as well. I wanted to thank our speakers, Ms. Mehta, Mr. Camillucci, appreciate your presentations. Ms. Wood, Ms. Pruitt, appreciate your participation as well. And thank you, Counselor Emily Baker, for attending, even with issues going on with family right now and being all the way across country. So thank you for being here. I wanted to say I'm just really grateful for everybody's participation and involvement with the workshop and updates to our council procedures. I wanted to read 7.2 council relations with one another in public meetings, because I think this is, our read tonight was a good example of this, but we have lots of examples. The city council is comprised of individuals with a wide variety of backgrounds, personalities, values, opinions, and goals. Despite this diversity, all have chosen to serve in public office in order to preserve and protect the present and future of the community. I underline this part. The public stage is provided during business meetings and should be used to show how individuals with disparate points of view can find common ground and seek compromise designed to benefit the community as a whole. Difficult questions, tough challenges to a particular point of view, and criticism of ideas and information are legitimate elements of democracy and action. And we see that in every council meeting. So I just want to say that's normal. And I appreciate everybody having the courage to speak up, even if they have a differing opinion. When I was talking to Ms. Place, preparation for this meeting, one of the things that she brought up was how confusing it is when she's reviewing the recordings and putting together the minutes when there's a lot of crosstalk. And so the decorum and rules of procedure are there to make it easier for record keeping and also for ADA. So it's really important that we have clear communication. And I think we did a really good job with that this evening. So I just want to point that out as well. Mr. Camillucci brought up that we don't have any funds for abatement, and I think that's something we should also be looking at when we're looking at budgeting next year. And that's all I've got. There are no other matters, and we have no executive session. So adjournment, we have a motion for adjournment.
A motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Keller and seconded by Mr. Crompton.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emily Baker,
Aye.
Farrell. Aye. Happy,
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody online.
Bye. Bye-bye, everybody.